Hi, everyone. My name is Anae Agostini. I'm CEO of CID Insurance Programs, and I want to welcome you today to how to run a successful agency in a hard market. So let's let's take a look at the logistics. Um, all- Everyone's going to be muted, but of course, you can hear, and but you won't be able to speak. But your voice is really important, so please ask questions in the chat room as we go along, and I'll stop and answer them as they come up. Also, there's a short survey at the end of the webinar, and again, your feedback is your voice and feedback is really important to us. So please share any thoughts that you may have. So, what are we going to be talking about today? Our agenda is, well, we're going to talk a little bit about the economy and the effect that it's having on you as insurance brokers and the insurance carriers. We want to analyze the efficiency of your agency operations, and then talk about more effective systems that you can use to manage your new and renewal business. And what about some successful ways to market for new business opportunity? It's always a challenge. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then how to build your agency team, I'll close with. So let's get started. Excuse me. So I think I went one too far. Okay, here we go. How the economy is affecting the insurance business. So it's been going on. COVID started it, and it was a challenge during COVID. It had an economic impact, and then we've had even worse economic impacts since then. This is sort of a love-hate relationship. It's caused a lot of turbulence for us as brokers, and our insurance carriers for sure are facing the major business challenges. Um, it's so that those kind of changes, as I said, it's a love-hate relationship in that as it becomes a hard market, we tend to, as insurance brokers and subcarriers, make more money during this time because premiums go up. But however, the cost of doing business becomes much more creative. So that third bullet, where the hardening insurance market, it creates a labor-intense process to manage risk placement. That the economic turbulence caused from COVID, inflation, and now so there's this social economic and social inflation term that is now, and it's really a term that describes how insurers claims costs are increasing above general economic inflation. And so these are trends due to increasing litigation costs brought by plaintiffs seeking large monetary relief for their injuries. So it's sort of like making the whole, cost of insurance even worse because that's a contributing factor which increases premiums as well. There also is a talent shortage, and that is a factor as well. A lot of people left the industry during COVID, and so all you as insurance brokers and the carriers of for sure are having difficulty finding the appropriate kind of talent they need to run their operations. So, how can you excel during a hard market? Well, hopefully you guys are having some success with that. But and whether you're in a hard market or not, I think it's really important, at least once a year, I think quarterly, to evaluate your agency's performance and it and determine whether you're functioning efficiently, cost effectively, which is really crucial and to be successful as an insurance agency. You want to make sure that you have good partners, and hopefully CID is one of those good partners that you can trust and count on to deliver a level of efficiency that could make a difference in a hard market. Taking a look at what it's going to take to succeed regularly is important, because it's success is a moving target, and you need to be able to adapt as you go throughout each year to determine. That's why I think quarterly evaluation is really probably the best. And then we're going to talk about some tools that will help you achieve that success. So we're going to start with your agency operations, and I think that this is the heart and soul. There's two areas we're going to talk about, both of the agency operations, and then your production system that you use for new business and renewals. And so let's start with the agency operations. And the big question is, and many insurance brokers fail on this particular question: where are you and your team spending most of your time? Well, unfortunately, a lot of that time ends up being spent on service, because you get pulled in that direction because the phone's ringing, and there's people that need change, especially if you have a book that's heavy in personal lines. So that's definitely the first. Establish where you are currently. The next thing, and I can't say enough about this, on the operational side, you really want to have systems for everything that you do. You want to make sure that the system is efficient, and that everyone uses the same system within within your agency, so that it's easy for anyone to check what's been done on an account, and this is a great way to avoid E&O claims, mistakes being made that could really hurt your agency. You want to analyze your renewal process and customer service efficiency. And then, do you have a plan for new business production? So, now I'm stepping over onto that side, because you do have to run that systematically as well. But definitely evaluate your operations, which is your processing system, versus and separately from your new business production systems. And then, do you measure your results on an ongoing basis? As I mentioned before, it's really important to see how well you're doing in all of these areas. Are the systems working? Okay, so let's go back to analyzing, taking a look at your agency, and we're going to start with analyzing your book of business. It's really important to take a look. Generally, an agency is probably in the three categories of commercial lines, personal lines, and life. And then that's why we've got a triangle here. I personally think you have to take a look at the split of your business and make sure that you have a healthy and efficient book of business that is, number one, stays on the books and is not as heavy service related. So if you are heavy in personal lines, you're already failing because personal lines is very personal. It's very heavy service oriented, and can be the most challenging. Commercial lines is probably the least service emphasis, and you can, depending on the class of business, some classes of business are going to be heavier service. Contractors can tend to be that way because people are asking for certificates all the time. So you really have to take a look at what type of commercial that you would want to focus on. But at least a 50-50 split is probably a great between personal lines and commercial lines. Life, I could take it or leave it. Some agencies are, have contracts where they're required to sell the life, and if so, I just don't see it as I see it as a supporting coverage, and not a priority. So, but the higher percentage you could have in commercial lines, I think the more efficient you are, because business to business activity is going to be the most cost effective and stay on the books longer. So I know this is going to be oversimplified, but um, when you're talking about, we're going to shift over to looking at, okay, how do we, so if we want to change that, triangle, we want to get more commercial business. How do we manage our new business and renewal systematically? So I call it a sales equation. It's really basic. It's not rocket science, but the key to it is it breaks up the three most important parts of the sales process, whether it's a renewal or whether it's new business. You start with the X date. So if it's a renewal, you're starting with that expiration date 60 days out to work that renewal. If it's new business, you're starting you're gathering X dates at that point, and then you're trying to work those 10 weeks out as they come up, as those X dates come up. So you have to have a system for that. And then the second part is making that presentation. You always want to make a formal presentation, and then you have to close. You have to close. You have to follow up and close that business, whether it's a renewal or it's new business. There's another operational agency system that we find invaluable in our agency, and it's managing. And if you don't have, like, Outlook can function this way, but it's knowing how to effectively manage your new business and your renewals. So new business, you want as many opportunities to check and see whether you're on target with meeting your new business goals. So you want to manage your new business weekly. You want to know at the end of the week, how did we do with new business? How much did we write? Did we meet our goal? And that gives you 52 start dates in order to do that. Renewals are going to be managed monthly, and you could be working as many as 3, maybe even 4 months, because you're looking back and you're looking forward at the same time when it comes to renewals. You're finishing up renewals that are from the previous month, and you're moving forward, so that you're 60 days out. So managing those monthly is really important, and you want to manage it by expiration date so that it's all in order as you go forward. So let's talk about commercial production growth. So you want to establish goals. And I know this is a perfect time because we're in October, New Year's coming, and before you know it, the first of the year will be here. So we always establish our business goals and are prepared for January 1. Our numbers don't come out, but we could get a pretty good realistic look at what our numbers are going to end up being by the time we get into January. And so you want to take a look at realistic goals for new business production, and that is sort of goes back to, so if you, and then you want to focus on commercial insurance, which is what I would recommend because I think it's for stable business. So set realistic numbers for how much premium you want to write and how much. I mean, you could break it down to average premium that you think you are going to write based on the classes of business that you're going to go after, because a lot of that really determines the average premium that you're going to get to. And then you could even take a look at PIF, which is your policy in force growth. Determine the production percentage goals for each 4 agency lines of insurance. So if you have like requirements from your carriers that you have to write so much personal lines, then you just establish where your priorities are going to be with your new business production growth. And again, it's always good to take a look at your production growth versus policy in force. Our premium is one thing, and then PIF is another. So and it's always you always want to know whether your PIF is growing, because you could have some bigger premiums in there that really uh, that skew that production number. But the PIF is always good, is always an additional factor to take a look at, to know you want your PIF to be growing, because you're going to always lose business from renewals, because you can't keep them all. It's not possible. So you will always need to be growing that PIF with new business. And as I talked about, you want to balance policy premium size. It's always better to keep that on a more stable level. Okay, let's talk about some commercial marketing for new business. You have to have a marketing strategy, and you have to put it to work. Establish a weekly sales goal, because we're going to monitor it weekly, right? How did we do at the end of each week? So you want to establish weekly sales goals. I mean, it's just as easy. How many policies do you want to write? What's the average premium? And how much do you want to grow as an agency? Because obviously that equates to, commissions for you, and that's what, makes your agency run. As I mentioned before, you need to have some kind of filing system for managing those X dates that you're out there marketing for. So I suggest an electronic filing system, and that's just files that you create, and that you fill out risk profiles and add information, deck pages and things like that, and drop them into these individual X-date files, for potential risks that you would like to quote going into the future. Because you won't be able to work them all as you come across them at that time. Because they should have an X date, and then you want to manage them by a 10-week marketing schedule. So 10 weeks out, you start working at making contact and gathering any additional information you need in order to provide a business quote. Make contacts. So you've got to get out there and meet people. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. You want to follow that sales equation, because all three parts, X date, presentation, and close, are really important. And allow enough time when submitting for quotes. That one I can't, especially, COVID, the economic, the hard market. It's been crazy. It's not, our efficiency. We have stayed stable as a wholesaler. Our staff has stayed stable. We are functioning at our top level efficiency, and we're really big about that. And we use our own systems that are very efficient, but the carriers have not been, and that's where the time is needed when submitting for quotes. The carriers are taking longer than we want. We're frustrated at times. It's getting a little bit better, but it's still a problem, and so just allow enough time. So what are some of those commercial businesses that you want to focus on? The ones that are stable through a hard market. A lot of these were stable during COVID as well. And we're writing a lot of restaurants, and especially a new venture, or a lot of restaurants that we're getting a lot of restaurants that didn't have insurance to begin with, and we can write, the workers' comp, and then all the coverages they need. We can write the EPL, and I think I talk about that a little bit later, so we'll go into it then. Contractors, E&O for consultants, or package or BOP for consultants. Main Street America, garage, nonprofits, allied health, which is your home health care and assisted living facilities. There's so much of that going on. And then miscellaneous medical, which is, all the types of services that are out there that are not doctor and nurse related or hospital related. So there's a lot of different kinds of facilities that are offering medical services. So what are some of the marketing strategies? Well, as I said before, you have to get out there. You can't data mine. You can't find next dates unless you're out there meeting other business owners. And so you want to get involved with local business councils and associations. Um, you want to you and by getting involved, you want maybe join the membership. You want to participate in having information sessions at events and meetings with these councils and associations. You want to network in any way you can with local business owners. You have to put yourself out there. Actively participate in local events, sponsor local events, and target industries. So this is this is key, and you'll find that it will naturally um, create business opportunities for you if you get involved. So I've talked a little bit about your renewals. So number one, treat every renewal like new business. You and especially with commercial insurance, it's you really most of the time don't touch it but once a year unless there's some unusual change going on. And so you need to make that one moment, make it count, because you that that insured has to have a sense in the back of their head that you've taken care of. They feel confident, they trust you. So it's important to teach them to treat them well and take time with them at each renewal. Um, as I mentioned before, you want to manage those renewals by an monthly expiration report, and you need to be making sure that you're working 60 days out ahead so that you give time to make sure of any changes to the renewal exposure and spend time with that insured. You want to calculate your retention and lapse ratios monthly, meaning what percentage of my renewals am I keeping? And that's a simple equation that you can establish what percentage. And you definitely want to stay, you know, ideally with commercial, a retention of 90% or greater would probably be achievable and important. Um, Policy audits can be a problem because they actually can create a non-renewal um, of a policy that possibly did renew, and because the audit doesn't get completed, they cancel the renewed policy. So always monitor those policy audits, and and check with us at CID if you have any questions relative to that audit. But it's really important. Don't put your head in the sand on these, or pretend that someone else is going to take care of it. You have to be actively involved in order to keep your business. And the last one, boy, we get a lot of referrals at CID, and that's because we try really hard to do a great job for our brokers, and they appreciate that by giving us referrals. But I recommend that you ask for referrals at the time of each renewal. So if you're taking really good care of that insured, then they may refer you to a friend, another business owner. Okay, you got to have a competitive edge to achieve success. So you want to concentrate on, efficiently retaining your clients, right? Build those strong relationships with clients, and you want to bring a value-added proposition to the table. What makes you different than another insurance broker? Cross-selling your book of renewal business is key. We have some marketing pieces that actually are great that you could customize for yourself on our website, CIDinsurance.com. And you can actually send those out with your renewals. So EPL becomes important, cyber becomes very important because, their chances of having a loss in those coverage areas is probably greater than a GL claim. So it's just really important for your E&O protection is to cross-sell your book. And workers' comp is another opportunity there as well. And then be empathetic with your clients. We're all in the same boat, and everyone is like more on edge and has been for the last I want to say 5 years now. So anyways, that it's really important to be empathetic and care about your clients. Okay, I talked earlier. I've mentioned a few other coverages. Always always make sure that you know what coverages that your commercial clients need. Obviously, property and general liability is one that everyone seems to manage. You know what I mean? We got that we got that down. And sometimes you get that hired and non-owned auto included. But fidelity becomes important if there's a funds management or um, issue, uh, even even within a company where for their own operating um, accounts is it really important because you just never know what's going to happen in that area. Cyber liability, as I mentioned, professional liability, your E&O, your directors and officers, your employment practices liability are um, are important if they have that professional services exposure that is not related to property damage or bodily injury. Garage is another one. Umbrella is another one. Workers' comp is very important as well, and inland marine. So just wanted to throw those out for you. Last but not least, building your agency team. Finding good people is really has been a challenge because so many changes happened with COVID. Um, and we have a model where we hire either a college graduate into a full time career position, a newly graduated uh, college graduate, or we hire them we part time while they're getting their degree, and that's been a good it's been a pretty good solid foundation. We're very careful. We interview very thoroughly because we're looking for good character. We're looking for someone who has uh, can function under um, uh, can multitask, can function under stress, can and has a great attitude um, and wants to learn. How to keep good people? You have to take care of them. You have to treat them well. You have to listen to them. You have to create opportunities where, like we have potlucks. We have different types of events constantly where we even have a book club. We have where they meet during our work hours and they talk about a book they're all reading. So we create that atmosphere where people feel like they're part of our company and they want to be here. Also, what's most important as you find those good people, you have to have a really good thorough training system. And I know it takes time, but you have because you're investing in them. And we always ask for a 2-year commitment because uh, we're going to take a lot of time to train them. And along the way, you have to take a look at them and say, okay, are they getting stale in the job that they're doing? What more can I do to motivate them and create another learning opportunity for them? So, in the end, you want to achieve the results. You want to streamline operations and develop systems, establish a marketing production plan and budget, build your agency team, and then never forget to manage those production results. How can we help you? Well, we are the broker's preferred wholesale solution, and we've got we definitely we function on fast and easy quote options. That's what and we're working to achieve the most competitive premium possible for you. Again, our carriers are giving us a little bit of a pain in that area, but just know on our end, we're pushing as hard as we can to get all of those quotes from our carriers. And whatever we can quote in-house, we will do those fast and efficiently. All of our underwriters, like I said, we haven't had any turnover during this crazy years, last few years we've had. And so you've got the same knowledgeable, experienced underwriters there to take care of you. I mentioned the customizable marketing material. Take a look at that on our website. We've got broker proposal templates, commercial for commercial insurance. And remember, there's so many different classes of business, and each of them have their unique need for coverages. And so those templates make it easy for you. So take a look at those under broker tools. And then educational opportunities. Well, we're doing webinars almost every 2 weeks. And we've got educational videos, and we do office training for insurance agencies as well. Remember, focus on renewal retention and new business production, and take a look at that PIF growth. Oops. Thanks for joining us today.